Hello YouTube, my name is Scott and welcome to another episode of Opinions No One Cares About, a video series that I'm about 80% sure is real and not just me hallucinating somewhere in a padded room in a straitjacket. 75-80%. I mean, if that was the case, you guys would tell me, right? 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 Good news, everyone! I'm going to talk about Star Wars. Bad news, everyone! I'm going to talk about the prequels. Please don't unsubscribe. I know this might be needless to say at this point, but spoilers? Now, what can we say about the Star Wars prequels that hasn't already been said? Probably nothing. They're 15 to 20 years old, and yet I press on. Were they too long and boring? Yes. Was there bad acting and CGI that doesn't really hold up? Oh yeah. Were the plot holes big enough to fly Starkiller Base through? Sure. Is it wrong to mix the prequels and the newer movies in the same sentence? Maybe. But is it really easy to make videos when you ask and answer all your own questions? Yes. Let's move on to this guy, Anakin Skywalker, whatever version you prefer. Whether it's the child that George Lucas basically dubbed Space Jesus, the petulant teenager who hated everyone who tried to teach him anything and killed children, the conflicted young man who finally capitulated to years of being groomed by an older man to do whatever he wanted and also killed children, or the former badass who had his one decent moment taken away from him in a future movie for who knows what reason. Anakin Skywalker has been an important part of the Star Wars universe through 8 movies. Well, 7. I included Solo on that list, but even though he was technically around at the time, he didn't feature in the movie. And to be fair, that entire movie shouldn't have featured in that movie. But I digress. So let's start at The Phantom Menace. Thanks to a blood test administered by Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn, which I can only assume is called the "let's mix religion and science because that's always worked so well" test, we find out that young Anakin Skywalker is so chock full of force that you could literally say he's forceful. But please don't say that. That's a bad joke. Young Anakin's brought before the Jedi Council, where no one wants to train him because apparently he's too old to start. That's right, 9 years old is too old to begin your Jedi training. But there are some Jedi who believe that Anakin is the chosen one. The one who has been prophesied by someone who shall remain nameless forever to be the one who will bring balance to the Force. And that's my issue. They're talking about balance, which one would assume means the balance between light and dark, which the galaxy does not have. Because the Jedi have been around for thousands of years. They've been the primary peacekeeping force of the Republic since, forever. The opening crawl of Attack of the Clones specifically mentions the creation of a Grand Army of the Republic, which the galaxy has apparently never had because the Jedi have just been serving as the Galaxy Cops. Note to self, pitch Galaxy Cops to Netflix. I'll figure out a plot later. Anyway, then there's the other side of the coin, the Sith. The polar opposites of the Jedi, who apparently serve the dark side of the Force and balance the whole thing out. Except that it's not balanced at all. Because, and I quote, there are only 2 Sith at a time, a master and an apprentice. Which, by the way, doesn't even hold up in the movies where it's explained, because the first 2 feature the death of a Sith apprentice and his immediate replacement by a much older man. So, what was Darth Tyrannus here doing before Attack of the Clones? Just practicing with his lightsaber in secret, waiting for his chance, hoping Darth Maul would screw up at some point? Is the galaxy full of wannabe Sith apprentices? The idea that there are only 2 Sith at a time leads to a question about power levels. I don't know how many Jedi there are in the prequels, but I know that there are enough for there to be a Jedi Council. Enough for them to go out into the galaxy fighting with the clone army, and enough for there to be a room full of children that Anakin slaughtered. He killed children. I'm not giving up on this. And here's a lesson for you kids. If you turn to the dark side of the Force, your eyes will turn yellow. If the Force is out of balance, it sure looks like that scale is tipped heavily in the Jedi's favor. And for the Sith, described on Wikipedia as deceptive and obsessed with gaining power whatever the cost. The idea of keeping their numbers so limited when there are so many Jedi doesn't make any sense. I've thought about it, and the only thing I can come up with is that George Lucas, the man who said this was all planned out, needed a quick fix to explain why the Empire isn't run by a literal army of black-robed badasses with red lightsabers in the Ridge Tridge, which, as I've mentioned, is the only way people should refer to the original trilogy. Okay, back to the plot. Big overblown battles, boring power struggles. Anakin turns to the dark side like he was practically born there. And Darth Sidious, who turned out to be Chancellor Palpatine in a shocking twist, executes Order 66. The Jedi are wiped out, with the exception of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, because we already know they survived. There's a lightsaber battle on a lava planet, Obi-Wan gets the high ground, Anakin gets seriously amputated, and Obi-Wan says one important thing. You were the chosen one! Here's the thing, Obi. No, he wasn't. The chosen one was supposed to bring balance to the Force. And as I think I've well established, the Force has been out of balance for literally millennia in favor of the Jedi. At this point, it could be considered far more balanced, since there are only 2 Jedi and 2 Sith left in the galaxy. And yes, I'm aware that Anakin's twins are being born at this point, but they are a non-issue right now. So am I saying that Anakin Skywalker really did bring balance to the Force? No, because he didn't do it. As you may recall, the Jedi mentioned that their connection to the Force was somehow weakened during Attack of the Clones. So, who was the one with the strongest connection to the Force throughout the prequels? Who was literally grooming Anakin the entire time? Who, according to comic book canon, literally brought him into existence by manipulating the midichlorians around his mother? And who executed Order 66? Admittedly, this isn't the conclusion I came to when I first had the idea for this video, but it seems obvious. If the prophecy's real, and there was supposed to be a chosen one who would, as I've said way too many times, bring balance to the Force, then that person was Sheev Palpatine, Emperor something, dark side himself. He not only fulfilled the prophecy, he literally created a person to take the blame. Maybe it was the effort of that caused all the rest of his plans in the prequels to make no goddamn sense. I mean, it couldn't have just been bad writing by a guy who literally called Disney white slavers after they bought a character from him who is voiced by a black man and serves an old white man whom he calls master. Right? Alright guys, that's another video in the bin. I hope you liked it. If so, definitely click like. Please click subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below because I'd love to know what you guys have to say, and share it around to your friends. I know I do these videos like once every 2 weeks. I'm trying to get something to fill in the alternating weeks. Like, I have an idea, but it hasn't quite worked out yet. But when it does, you will know. Anyway, until next time, my name is Scott, and this has been Opinions No One Cares About. Everybody has opinions, and this one was mine.